I'd like you to imagine something for a moment. What if the loose change sitting in your pocket right now, the nickel you ignored at the grocery store, the one buried in your car's cup holder, or hiding beneath your couch cushions, could actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? It sounds impossible. After all, we're talking about a modern American nickel, a coin that millions of people have spent without a second thought, a coin that many collectors once considered ordinary, common, and completely unremarkable. But what if one specific 2006 Jefferson nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint and carrying no visible mint mark on the front because of its design placement, could potentially become one of the most talked about modern coin discoveries in circulation? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 2006 P Jefferson Nickel, a coin surrounded by collector excitement, rare varieties, unexpected auction prices, and a treasure hunt that has sent thousands of Americans searching through their spare change. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll never look at a 5-cent coin the same way again. To understand why the 2006 Jefferson Nickel has generated so much attention, we have to travel back more than 2 centuries. The story begins with Thomas Jefferson himself, one of America's founding fathers, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the third president of the United States. Jefferson was a statesman, philosopher, inventor, and visionary whose influence shaped the very identity of America. His beloved estate, Monticello, located in Virginia, became one of the nation's most recognizable historic landmarks. For decades, both Jefferson and Monticello have appeared on American coinage, transforming everyday pocket change into tiny pieces of American history. The Jefferson nickel first appeared in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the coin featured Jefferson's portrait on the front and Monticello on the reverse. For generations of Americans, this design became instantly recognizable. But in 2006, something changed. Following the special Westward Journey nickel series issued in 2004 and 2005, the United States Mint introduced a redesigned Jefferson portrait. The new image depicted Jefferson facing forward rather than in profile, creating one of the most dramatic changes in the history of the 5-cent coin. Collectors immediately took notice. The 2006 Philadelphia issue, commonly referred to as the 2006 P Jefferson Nickel, became the first regular circulation coin to feature this new Jefferson portrait alongside the familiar image of Monticello on the reverse. On the surface, there was nothing extraordinary about it. The Philadelphia Mint produced more than 809 million examples of the coin. That's right, over 800 million pieces entered circulation. By traditional standards, this should have made the coin extremely common and relatively inexpensive. So why are collectors still talking about it? The answer lies in one of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting: errors, varieties, and the possibility that hidden treasures still exist in everyday change. Throughout American coin history, seemingly ordinary coins have transformed into legendary rarities because of tiny mistakes made during production. A double die, an off-center strike, a missing design element, a die crack, a wrong planchet error. Sometimes, a coin worth 5 cents suddenly becomes worth thousands. And that's exactly why collectors continue searching through rolls of 2006 Jefferson Nickels. Over the years, specialists have identified numerous striking anomalies and mint errors associated with modern Jefferson Nickels. Some examples have displayed dramatic die deterioration, unusual doubling effects, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other production abnormalities. While the vast majority of 2006 nickels remain worth only face value, exceptional error examples have sold for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. This possibility created a modern treasure hunt. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table with a box of nickels from the bank. One by one, you inspect each coin. Most appear ordinary. Then suddenly, you notice something unusual. Perhaps the strike looks different. Perhaps the lettering appears doubled. Perhaps the metal itself seems wrong. Could you be holding a mistake that escaped the United States Mint 20 years ago? That question alone has fueled countless hours of searching among collectors across America. But the story becomes even more fascinating when we examine condition rarity. You see, while millions of 2006 P Jefferson Nickels were produced, very few survived in absolutely pristine condition. This creates a strange paradox in modern coin collecting. A coin can be incredibly common in circulation, yet become extraordinarily rare when preserved perfectly. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-70 represents absolute perfection, a standard so difficult to achieve that even freshly minted coins often fail to qualify. For modern coins like the 2006 Jefferson Nickel, obtaining an elite grade can dramatically increase value. Examples graded at the highest certified levels have sold for surprising premiums, not because the coin itself is rare, but because finding one without even microscopic imperfections is extraordinarily difficult. Think about that for a moment. A coin produced by the hundreds of millions can become valuable simply because almost nobody saved a flawless example. It's a reminder that rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes, rarity is about survival. And that's what makes coin collecting such an incredible blend of history, art, detective work, and treasure hunting. But perhaps the most persistent mystery surrounding modern coins like the 2006 Jefferson Nickel isn't whether they were minted in huge numbers. It's whether undiscovered treasures are still out there. Every year, collectors report finding unusual coins in circulation that somehow escaped notice for decades. Coins tucked away in forgotten piggy banks. Coins hidden in inherited collections. Coins sitting unnoticed inside old jars for years. Could there still be undiscovered 2006 Jefferson Nickel errors waiting to be found? The honest answer is yes. Because every coin produced at a mint passes through countless stages of manufacturing, inspection, transportation, and circulation. Human error, machine error, and simple chance occasionally combine to create something extraordinary. And sometimes, those extraordinary coins remain hidden in plain sight. The cultural significance of the Jefferson Nickel also adds another layer to its appeal. Unlike ancient gold coins locked away in museums or rare silver dollars worth fortunes, Jefferson Nickels belong to everyone. They've passed through the hands of students, factory workers, presidents, cashiers, collectors, and everyday Americans. They represent commerce, history, and national identity compressed into a small metal disc measuring just over 20 millimeters across. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge represents countless transactions. Every surviving example serves as a tiny historical artifact from its era. So when collectors search for a rare 2006 Jefferson Nickel, they're searching for much more than money. They're searching for a connection to history, a connection to discovery, a connection to the timeless human dream of finding treasure where nobody else thought to look. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. Right now, somewhere in America, a valuable coin may be sitting unnoticed in a cash register. It may be hiding inside a coin jar. It may even be resting in your pocket at this very moment. The question is simple. Would you recognize it if you saw it? The next time you receive a nickel in your change, take a closer look. Check the date. Study the details. Examine the strike. Because history has proven something extraordinary time and time again. Some of the world's greatest treasures were hiding in plain sight all along. And who knows? Your next 5-cent coin might just change everything. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden story behind the 2006 Thomas Jefferson Monticello nickel, make sure to subscribe, because our next journey into the world of rare coins, lost treasures, and hidden fortunes might reveal that the most valuable discovery you'll ever make is already sitting in your pocket. What if I told you that one of the most overlooked coins in America could be hiding in plain sight right now? Sitting in a forgotten jar, buried in a couch cushion, or tucked away inside a dusty piggy bank. Millions of Americans handle this coin every year without giving it a second thought. They spend it on coffee, drop it into vending machines, or toss it into change jars. But what if some of those ordinary nickels weren't so ordinary after all? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 2007 P Thomas Jefferson Nickel featuring the iconic Monticello design. A coin that many people assume is worthless, yet one that has sparked countless rumors, treasure hunting stories, and surprising discoveries across the United States. And before this story ends, you'll understand why collectors still inspect these nickels one by one, searching for the tiny details that can transform 5 cents into something far more valuable. To understand the 2007 P Jefferson Nickel, we have to travel back nearly 70 years before it was ever struck. The Jefferson Nickel first appeared in American pockets in 1938. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and honored one of America's most influential founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The reverse side featured one of America's most recognizable homes, Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate. For generations, Americans carried a miniature tribute to Jefferson's legacy every time they carried a nickel. But by the early 2000s, the United States Mint decided it was time to refresh this historic coin. In 2004 and 2005, special commemorative designs temporarily replaced the classic Monticello reverse as part of the Westward Journey Nickel series. These coins celebrated the Lewis and Clark expedition and America's westward expansion. Collectors rushed to save them, and for the first time in decades, millions of Americans began paying attention to nickels again. Then came 2006. The United States Mint introduced a redesigned Jefferson portrait featuring a forward-facing image of the president. At the same time, Monticello triumphantly returned to the reverse side of the coin. And by 2007, this new era of Jefferson Nickels was fully established. The 2007 P Jefferson Nickel was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small p mint mark located on the obverse. More than 571 million examples were produced, making it one of the most heavily circulated nickels of its era. At first glance, that production number seems to destroy any possibility of rarity. After all, how could hundreds of millions of coins ever become valuable? But seasoned coin collectors know a secret that treasure hunters have understood for generations. Sometimes, the story isn't about the coin itself. It's about the mistakes. It's about survival. And sometimes, it's about pure luck. Every year, thousands of collectors search through rolls of Jefferson Nickels looking for unusual errors and varieties. These aren't mythical treasures or internet fantasies. They're real mistakes created during the minting process. Imagine a coin being struck slightly off-center. Imagine a die developing cracks. Imagine a planchet defect creating an unusual appearance. Imagine doubled lettering appearing where there should only be one image. These errors can transform an otherwise ordinary coin into a collectible piece worth far more than its face value. And that's exactly why some people continue examining 2007 P Jefferson Nickels nearly 2 decades after they entered circulation. But here's where things become even more interesting. If you've searched online, you've probably seen astonishing headlines claiming that a 2007 P Jefferson Nickel sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even close to $1 million. These stories spread rapidly across social media, video platforms, and collector forums. They fuel dreams of hidden wealth and forgotten treasure. But are these extraordinary claims true? The answer is both fascinating and disappointing. There is currently no verified evidence that an ordinary 2007 P Jefferson Nickel has sold for anywhere near hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most circulated examples remain worth exactly 5 cents. Even pristine, professionally graded specimens usually sell for relatively modest amounts compared to truly rare American coins. And yet, that doesn't make the story any less compelling. Because the history of coin collecting is filled with examples of people discovering incredible treasures in the most ordinary places imaginable. A rare double die penny discovered in pocket change. A mint error quarter found in a cash register. A forgotten coin collection hidden in an attic for decades. Every treasure hunter knows that extraordinary discoveries often begin with ordinary objects. And that's why millions of collectors continue searching. The 2007 P Jefferson Nickel also represents something larger than its monetary value. It tells the story of American memory. Think about it. Thomas Jefferson died almost 2 centuries before this coin was struck. The craftsman who built Monticello lived in an entirely different world. Yet in 2007, millions of Americans carried their legacy in their pockets without even realizing it. Each nickel became a tiny historical artifact moving silently through gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, and homes across the nation. How many hands touched your nickel before it reached you? How many stories does it carry? Did it travel across all 50 states? Did it sit forgotten in a collector's album? Did it survive years inside a child's piggy bank? We'll never know. And perhaps that's part of the magic. Today, collectors examine 2007 P Jefferson Nickels for high-grade preservation, unusual mint errors, and exceptional strike quality. They study the details of Jefferson's portrait. They inspect the steps of Monticello under magnification. They search for clues invisible to the casual observer. Because coin collecting has never been solely about money. It's about discovery. It's about history. It's about the thrill of asking one simple question. What if? What if this ordinary-looking coin isn't ordinary at all? What if this piece of pocket change has a story nobody has uncovered yet? What if the next great discovery is still waiting to be found? The 2007 P Jefferson Nickel may not be America's rarest coin. It may not be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it represents something that every collector, treasure hunter, and history enthusiast understands deeply. The possibility that extraordinary stories can hide inside the most ordinary objects. So tonight, before you ignore that handful of change on your dresser, take a closer look. Examine the dates. Check the mint marks. Study the details. Because history has taught us one unforgettable lesson. Sometimes treasure doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it waits patiently, disguised as 5 cents. And who knows? Your next handful of change might contain a story that's been waiting nearly 20 years to be discovered. What if I told you that a simple 5-cent coin, sitting unnoticed in a jar, buried in a couch cushion, or forgotten in a pocket for nearly 2 decades, could hold a fascinating story of American history, presidential legacy, and one of the greatest treasure hunts happening right now in everyday pocket change? Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of the 2008 D Jefferson Nickel, a coin that millions of Americans have handled without a second thought, a coin that most people spend without even looking at. But could there be more to this seemingly ordinary nickel than meets the eye? Because sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't hidden in pirate ships or ancient tombs. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight. The year was 2008. America was facing one of the most dramatic periods in modern history. The global financial crisis was unfolding. Historic elections were capturing the world's attention. Technology was rapidly transforming everyday life. Yet, while headlines dominated television screens, the United States Mint quietly produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels carrying a design rooted in America's earliest days. Among them was the 2008 D Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Denver Mint. At first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about this coin. On one side, you'll find the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers, the third president of the United States, and the author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse stands one of the most recognizable homes in American history, Monticello. But this coin represents something much deeper than just 5 cents. To understand why collectors continue searching through rolls of nickels looking for examples of this coin, we have to travel back nearly 3 centuries. Thomas Jefferson wasn't just a president. He was a philosopher, inventor, architect, diplomat, and visionary. His estate, Monticello, located in Virginia, became one of the most iconic homes ever built in America. Designed largely by Jefferson himself, Monticello reflected his fascination with classical architecture, science, and the ideals of the Enlightenment. When the Jefferson Nickel first entered circulation in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, the United States chose to honor Jefferson's enormous impact on American history. The artist responsible for the original design was sculptor Felix Schlag, whose depiction of Monticello would become one of the most recognizable images ever placed on an American coin. For decades, Americans carried Jefferson and Monticello in their pockets without giving them much thought. Then, in the early 2000s, something unusual happened. The United States Mint temporarily redesigned the Jefferson Nickel series to commemorate the Lewis and Clark expedition. For several years, Americans saw entirely different designs on their nickels. But by 2006, the classic Monticello reverse returned. And that's where our story begins. The 2008 D Jefferson Nickel represents one of the final years of the traditional Monticello design before another major transformation occurred in American coinage. It captures a fascinating moment in numismatic history, a bridge between America's past and its modern era. Now here's where things become truly interesting. The Denver Mint produced approximately 345.6 million of these nickels in 2008. That sounds enormous, doesn't it? And it is. This is not a rare coin in the traditional sense. Most examples found in circulation today are worth exactly 5 cents. But experienced collectors know a secret. Sometimes, rarity isn't about how many coins were produced. It's about how many survived in extraordinary condition. This is where the hunt begins. Coin collectors spend countless hours examining 2008 D Jefferson Nickels under magnification, searching for something called full steps. What are full steps? Look closely at the staircase on the Monticello building. On many nickels, these steps appear weak, incomplete, or blended together because of the minting process. But on a tiny percentage of coins, every step appears sharp, complete, and fully defined. These full steps examples are highly prized among collectors because they represent exceptional strikes, moments when the minting process achieved near perfection. Imagine producing hundreds of millions of coins at incredible speed, yet only a handful emerge with flawless architectural details visible under magnification. That's what transforms an ordinary nickel into a collector's prize. And then there are the errors. Every year, collectors search through rolls of nickels hoping to discover the unexpected: doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other minting anomalies that escaped quality control. Think about that for a moment. A machine somewhere in Denver made a tiny mistake in 2008. That mistake traveled through banks, cash registers, vending machines, and countless pockets for years before someone finally noticed it. Could there still be undiscovered errors hiding in circulation today? Many collectors believe the answer is yes. And that's precisely what keeps the treasure hunt alive. The composition of the 2008 D Jefferson Nickel is another fascinating chapter in its story. Unlike pennies, whose metal composition has changed dramatically over time, the Jefferson Nickel has remained remarkably consistent. Each coin contains 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs exactly 5 grams, and measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter. This composition has endured through wars, economic crises, and technological revolutions. In a world of constant change, the Jefferson Nickel remains one of America's most enduring pieces of everyday history. But perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding the 2008 D Jefferson Nickel isn't its rarity. It's human nature itself. How many people have unknowingly spent a perfectly preserved example worth far more than face value? How many extraordinary coins disappeared into parking meters, vending machines, or cash registers because nobody stopped to look? Think about your own spare change. When was the last time you examined a nickel closely? When was the last time you checked for unusual details, sharp strikes, or mint errors? Because every coin tells a story. Some stories involve presidents and founding fathers. Some stories involve mint workers who unknowingly created rare varieties. And some stories involve ordinary people discovering extraordinary treasures in the most unexpected places. Today, collectors continue searching through bank rolls, estate collections, coin jars, and inherited collections, hoping to uncover that one remarkable specimen hiding among thousands of ordinary coins. Will the next record-quality 2008 D Jefferson Nickel be discovered tomorrow? Could it already be sitting unnoticed in someone's dresser drawer? Or maybe, just maybe, it's sitting in your pocket right now. The next time someone hands you a nickel, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Because history doesn't always live in museums. Sometimes, history costs just 5 cents. And sometimes, the greatest treasure hunt in America begins with a single coin.